and 0817-923-0003. You can also call 0817-923-0007 and then 0817-923-0009. The WhatsApp number 0809-030-6416. And so I'll start with my guest in the studio, and when we just crunch a few figures, we'll start with the WhatsApp number and then we'll open the phone lines thereafter. All right, Mr. Bob Manuel, I would like us to start with the reality that hit when this story broke, which is supply chain disruptions. I mean, a lot has happened, but how are companies going to cope with this disruption? How is this going to affect, or how is it affecting? How do you see this affecting business when it comes to operating costs?
Businesses are definitely going to be on the front foot. They'll be we're going to be the first line affected, the first line to be affected in all of this transition that is taking place. And businesses that had not been able to automate before time would even have them themselves would be blamed even more, because look, all of what we're seeing today is not. It just didn't materialize itself over the night. It's something that had been in the offering for quite a long time, and it beats my imagination because most people don't seem to wake up to reality. They don't smell the coffee. The globe had actually been on this transition trajectory for over 18 years.
Okay.
It will interest you to know that as far back as 15 years ago, we had one of our first seminars in Port Harcourt. When I mean we, I'm talking about the Readers and Investors Forum. And the theme for that seminar was Beyond Oil and Gas. We had the likes of the European Union ambassador, the British ambassador, and representatives from the American embassy, and across different functionaries and states. We invited the governor at the then, Rotimi Amechi, and even functionaries from the federal government to be part of that process. But nobody took us seriously. Nobody took all of this seriously. And we've written severally to them. We've had several seminars, had enlightenment with the business community. Nobody really took all of that seriously. But today, it's right upon us. And we're still really not understanding the dynamics of what is upon us. Because the automation, it's real, it's in front of us, and we will definitely keep going through this price hike. There's nothing that is going to, sorry that I'm going to bust your bubble, but I would be true to you by telling you there's nothing that's going to stop this hike in price of petroleum products. Especially when we have decided not to do what we're supposed to do as a country and as a people. For us at the Investors Forum, way back then when we had this first seminar on Beyond Oil and Gas, we were really troubled and concerned as investors that are domiciled in the Delta. When I mean the Delta, in the Niger Delta, the Niger Delta state.
Yes.
Because we're going to be the most hit by all of this. Why? Because our economies are intricately tied to the oil and gas sector.
Because I was going to ask you, when you look at the Niger Delta now, can you hear me? Let's look at the practical industries and sectors that will experience this notable impact.
Sorry, you said what?
Yeah, what industries, what sectors particularly would experience this notable impact?
Well, it's going to cut across every sector and every industry.
Because, but it appears it will hit one more than the other. It will hit some more.
Yes, it will hit the ones that are directly playing in that are directly involved in the oil and gas.
Okay.
And obviously, it's going to hit the others that are into one sort of process that has to do with manufacturing. Why? Because you must have fossil fuel to power your generators or your production line. So you're going to be on the first line, and that is going to travel down to the end user. So there's nobody that is spared in all of this. You're looking at the NDC telling you today that the what they call the inflation is at its highest for the past 7 years. I think if they look at those, if they crunch those numbers properly, they'll find out that we're even doing way ahead of what we're being tossed at today, what we're told today. Because petroleum products in the country account for 50% of all the production space. All the production indices has one direct or indirect bearing with what they call petrol.
Okay.
So there's no game saying that it's not looking good. If I must tell you, it's not looking good, and it's going to cut across. It's going to cut across every sector, and everybody is going to be hit. Whether you're not a business person, whether you're a business person, if it affects the business person will pass on the cost to you. The person that is eventually going to make use of those services or those products that is being produced from the factory. So this is the scenario that we're faced with. I think the government needs to really begin to think out of the box. And for investors that will take out time to look at the indices, should have already started that process of automation of whatever they do.
Okay, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that, Mr. Bob. Can you hear me? Yes, we're going to get into government policies and their direction at the moment. But then let's stay with these businesses. I asked earlier about the operating cost, and from all you've explained, obviously it's going to shoot up. But how does this affect our supply chain at the moment? I mean, so much disruption. If we go by what you've really explained here, I mean, supply chain disruptions is a major disruption. How do businesses go with this? How are they supposed to navigate this at this moment? How do you see this going when it comes to supply chain? Are we going to have a drop in certain supply in certain? I mean, look at River State, for instance, where we depend a lot. I mean, when it comes to food, for instance, food products come into the state a lot, and we do not produce a lot of what we eat. So, do you see major disruptions in supply chain?
Sure. Definitely there are going to be a whole lot of disruptions in supply chains, because if ab initio you spend, for instance, X naira to transport your goods from one point to the other or to produce your goods, obviously you're going to be spending you're going to be having about, if you're taking from where we started out, from where we were at 190 naira or 300, whatever, now we're about 600 and something naira. So you see that there's a huge leap. And that huge leap for profit and loss. An operating cost of all those businesses would obviously have a hit. For instance, you're into a certain whatever product you're producing, you have your annual projection for expense on what you intend to lay out to produce. And in this case, you find out that you would have gotten a hit by inflation that would have been caused by the cost of petrol on your what you call your budget, and definitely that will make you reduce the amount of products you produce from your factory. And for you to be able to close that gap, there's no other way you go about it rather than transferring all of those costs to your production. So you find out that items that you're buying in the past for instance, 1 naira, you'll be ending up buying it for about 1 naira 50 kobo or even 2 naira, because we've had over 100% percentage increment in the petroleum product.
Okay.
Because look, the cost of your product, your production, would eventually be passed on to your consumers. There's no rocket science to it.
Yeah, and so that brings me to consumer behavior.
Certain problems.
Yes, and that brings me to consumer behavior. Really, what do you see it looking like? Are you going to find people not? What do you see consumer behavior looking like with this new increase now?
Yeah, obviously the demand will shrink. That's what it is. The demand will shrink. The economy will slow down, And basically, that's what we're faced with today. You find out that the demand, if you stand on a bar road, for instance, you find out that you have no amount of vehicles flying the route. You have no amount of passengers and all of that, because the availability, the funds in the pockets of the average masses would have reduced. So, and that would eventually trickle down to the small and medium size and even the big businesses. The amount of production that they ordinarily would have projected would have dropped, and that would eventually affect their profitability, projections for the year. And if it affects the profitability projections, you see some different companies would apply different policies. Some would apply policies like layoffs. Businesses will shrink for them to be able to withstand the pressure of the inflation that would have been spiked as a result of the petroleum products. So different companies, different investors will come up with different policies, but eventually they're putting up those policies for them to stay afloat.
Okay.
Because, that's the reality of it. Because
okay.
If they don't put up those policies, they would either go under,
Okay, so now let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll read messages. We'll look at our WhatsApp and see messages that have come in. Of course, open the phone lines and then get back to you again, Mr. Bob, to talk about government support and policy advocacy here. We'll be right back. It's Talking Figures. My name is Chioma Ezenwafor. Stay tuned. Yes, we are back. It's Talking Figures. I am really so excited that we are talking figures in the month of July, and then just when we thought we were going to start on a good note, we have to start on a really sad note for a lot of Nigerians who are dealing with the new pump price of petrol, and that's what we're looking at today. We're asking, how is the new price of petrol affecting your business? I've had joining me and discussing and analyzing all of this, the president, Rivers Entrepreneur and Investors Forum, Bob Manuel Ibifiri. He said a lot. He's talked about the operating costs, he's talked about the supply chain disruptions, and of course consumer behavior. And now we're going to look at how all of that, how businesses can begin to weather the storm. What should it look like? Especially because he said that there's been summits about beyond oil conversations as held, and I'm sure solutions were profiled, especially government policy support from government and all of that. So we're going to look at that in a bit, but you get to join the conversation at this point. And I'm going to start with WhatsApp, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. But the phone lines are open now. You can call 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, and 0817-923-0007, 0817-923-0009. The WhatsApp number 0809-030-6416. How is the new price of petrol affecting your business is the question. Share your thoughts. How is it affecting your operating costs, your supply chain, your consumer behavior? How are they behaving? Has anyone asked you how much you're selling today? Those are the questions, and I would like to get your thoughts. Going to WhatsApp now. I have a message here from AJ. AJ is dropping this message from Rukwoku. He says, this is really affecting me so badly. Imagine me as a family man working in a place where I'm being paid 50,000 naira and I pay over 1,500 for transportation alone. He says this country is becoming a real. He says it's scam. I don't know, but God will help us. He says, and I agree. God will help us. Hello, Mr. Bob. Are you still there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I take very first call on the show today. Hello. Yes, I hear you. Oh.
I don't come out. The old people, they use the road. All the keke where they run for load, they don't see anybody to carry because they call money. Because of the information they get. They don't want income to get.
So how much are they calling? How much were they asking you to pay? How much were the keke drivers asking to pay?
Even our own work itself, the work will not really work because many people don't pack their motor, everything don't stop. We are there now.
Okay. Do you own a business or you work for someone? I don't. It was almost like you couldn't hear me, but thank you for sharing there. Thank you for sharing your thoughts there, Mr. Bob. I mean, you've just heard the very first caller, and he's shared that it's really. I mean, a lot of people are panicking. The panic started yesterday, and people are disappointed. People are shocked. What should weathering the storm look like right now for businesses?
Well, it's not really. It's not as easy as that, but I think the government at this point should be able to come in. They need to step in because I felt before the call for the regulation of the downstream, they should have been able to come up with palliatives to weather this kind of scenario that we're faced with. So yeah, that's what I felt they should have done, and there are quick things that they ordinarily would have embarked upon. Now, we've been talking about the energy transition for quite a while. It's obvious that, look, it is not sustainable. Even at 610, 20 naira, it is not sustainable because the cost of petrol at the international market is a minimum of $1. And $1 going by our exchange rate today is way beyond the amount that we're talking about now. So you should still be open to expect that the petroleum products will still go up one notch or two. So, but what I felt they should have done, you have alternatives that other countries had already embarked upon and have embraced. And that's EVs, electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are ready remedy to the situation we're faced with today. So the government, I would have expected, should have come up with palliatives like duty waivers and incentives for people to invest in that space. Because if they invest in that space, that creates that immediate alteration of the fossil fuel powered vehicles, like the ones we use today. So if you take up the price of, or if the price of petroleum products even hits the roof at 1,000 naira per liter, it's not going to affect the average masses. Because most of those, especially what they call the mass transit buses, just like what Lagos State is doing with Oando, those mass transit buses, immediately they come in, they immediately alleviate the issues, the stress and the sufferings of the people. And it provides the kind of cushion in the economy that would have helped us at least to go through all of this. But the way it is now, we're faced with a scenario where we don't even have a response for it. And I would, to a large extent, would fault the approach of the government trying to provide for what you call palliative through direct funding of the needy in the society. That's not a way to solve a problem. That's rather going to cause more problems in the system. So they need to think it through, and they need to look at it and deliberately apply those policies that would alleviate the situation we're faced with. We quickly need to switch into what you call electric vehicles in the country. I mean, we're like 10 years behind other countries.
Absolutely.
As we speak today. So the way it is, there is no end in sight in it. And the fact that they went ahead to take away the subsidy of the petroleum products and had adamantly decided not to deregulate the downstream sector. What I'm basically talking about is, look, you can't at one end take away the petroleum products subsidy you've applied, and at the other end you're now giving out licenses to people to begin to import that same product. It defies all economic or investment theories. Definitely what was done this time. So I believe that the government should be able to take out time and look at this situation the way it is and try to see how they could unwind so they could correct their wrongs by putting the right policies to encourage and the growth in that space. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you so much. Just stay on the line. Let's take calls now. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Yeah, you're welcome to Talking Figures. How is the new price of petrol affecting your business?
Yeah, this is Good Luck calling from Andon.
You're gone.
Oh, as I'm in my workplace, someone called me that I should come and check a job. So I have this kid. I'm unable to go there because I asked her to pay my transport. So then I have like maybe fill my tank and run down to the place to check the work. But as it stands, I can't really fill my tank with the amount of fuel. I'm sure right here we are buying for not less than 800 naira. So 800 naira, just something which she's not ready to at least give me a part of the money. I'm equally not willing to go. So, and there are several places I should have touched as well, not my kind of work, but my movement is highly limited. Like that. That affected me a lot. And this issue of the national lawmakers voting against them regulating the price of this because they say it's being capped. I begin to imagine. Does it mean that anybody can just come up with any price in this country? So,
your line is breaking. I would have loved to let you just finish, but your line is breaking and I cannot hear you anymore. And so we get back to WhatsApp. I will have a message here from George. George is dropping a message from Rumo Kurushi, and he says, "Good afternoon, Chioma. I spent 600 naira from oil mill, I suppose, to Rumodara to and fro this afternoon." He says it baffles me how clueless our leaders appear in the face of these challenging times and the lives of Nigerians. The question is still, how is the new price of petrol affecting your business? I have another question, message here from Eric Chooks. He says, Chioma, electric vehicles may not be a quick fix to high cost of petrol in a country where electricity supply is very epileptic. Mr. Bob, you're still there? Can you still hear me? Okay, I think there's been some sort of network passing by of some sort, and so we're going to try to get in touch with him again. And so the question is, how is the new price of petrol affecting your business? And we've looked at how it's affected them, how it could affect business operating costs. We've talked about operating costs, stock supply chain, consumer behavior, and I'm asking you now, how is it affecting your business at the moment? And why is it that we've never prepared, as a country, we never really prepared like the rest of the countries? Mr. Bob talked about how countries were like how many years behind when you look at the fact that there's been a lot going on in the oil and gas sector. Oil prices have been fluctuating for a very long time. Nigeria appears not to have ever prepared for it. Well, the question remains, how is the new price of petrol affecting your business? What do you do and how is it affecting your business right now? Call me up 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007. You can also call 0817-923-0009. WhatsApp number remains 0809-030-6416. Hello, good afternoon.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
All right. So what I was trying to say is, if the national lawmakers say they can't do anything about the price of fuel currently, they're trying to let us know that even when Dangote will start distributing his own fuel, Dangote can decide to sell it at will, whatsoever price he decides, and nobody can do anything about it. To me, I begin to feel as if it's like these lawmakers, they are equally the people that own this company that imports this fuel. Because you can't tell me that they don't have power to at least amend our constitution to such that will favor the citizens, then what are they doing there? It means they are not even making any law to say. So I begin to suspect them. Like the problem we're having in this country is like they haven't. Is it because they have allocated the 110 billion for palliative and so on for them? So they want more of that. So, if the subsidy is gone, maybe there won't be that opportunity for them. So, I think what we need to do is to go and protest. If it is my way, I don't think crude oil, like the drilling of crude oil, should continue in the Niger Delta region, because we don't see the benefit. It's not even the crude money, the crude oil money that we are using to buy this oil. We buy this oil from our own hard-earned money. So, I don't see the need of this exportation of our crude oil, because it's not doing us any benefit. Yeah, they keep on loaning. So to me, we would have shut down every exploration that is going on in our Niger Delta region. So that let everybody suffer the same, so that they will know what we are facing. It's actually because they are just enjoying frivolently. Nothing is happening today. That's why they are just sitting there knowing not what to do. They haven't in all these things. Yes, that is my take.
Okay. So,
all right. So we have Mr. Bob Manuel Ibifri back online now. We lost him just for a moment. I mean, callers. We've had callers, Mr. Bob, and they talked about what the lawmakers and what the approach they've taken and the position they've taken about this particular issue. I mean, what do you make of that position? By the way, I mean, they say market forces. If it's market forces, then they have nothing. They have nothing. There's nothing they can do. What do you think? What do you make of that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with them, even if it is painful, but that's the truth. If market forces are meant to, definitely market forces are meant to decide where the cost would be and where it should be. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is. That's what it is, basically. They shouldn't interfere, because the more they keep interfering, then they make a mess out of the whole situation. But I would rather urge them to encourage, work with the government, push the government to see that they get the needed refineries to be up and running. That's basically what the quick fix should be. You know, those refineries had been in the offering for quite some time. They've been carrying out turnaround maintenance on them for quite a while now. Yeah. So those refineries begin to work. And if you ask me, candidly, the country needs to spin off its interest in those refineries, because for as long as those refineries remain 100% in control of the government, they would never see the light of day. Because the way the refineries are structured will never allow it to work, and that's why it has never worked. That's why we've been going round in one turnaround maintenance till dates. I mean, right from the word go, it has always been a turnaround maintenance. So they need to apply the LNG, structure to it, where you have the private sector taking majority shares. When the private sector takes majority shares in those investments, like the refinery, believe you me, in a matter of months, those refineries will be working. In a matter of 3 months, those refineries would come on stream. Just 3 months from the day they decide to take the right step by restructuring it, by not just changing the name of NNPC, just adding an L to NNPC that we've always known. What makes adding an L does not really make a difference. Limited doesn't make a difference. They should truly spin off the majority stakes in those refineries that we have for the private investors to bring in the fresh funds to put into those investments, because no investor would invest his money in an investment that he is not going to get back that funds out. So they will work around the clock to see that those refineries begin to work. But if we leave it with the federal government the way it is, we will keep suffering. And I mean, there's no end in sight in it, just like as I said.
Okay,
so
now
the lawmakers should work.
Go on, finish.
Should work towards that direction. Yeah, the lawmakers should try to see that they apply the needed efforts, pressures around the restructuring of those refineries, and basically is to do that. Immediately they spin off majority shares to private investors. I tell you, in 3 months, this thing about the fuel subsidy and the pains we're going through will immediately evaporate. Now, I'm not saying that it's evaporating would mean that we'll be buying petroleum products for 1 naira. No, we won't buy it for 1 naira, but would have a steady supply of petroleum products that would be at a steady and more predictable costs for the average masses in the country. Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at the market forces again. I know this is coming about less than 24 hours after the NNPC boss told us that 10 oil marketers had just landed cargo, and then NNPC is no longer, there's no longer monopoly with NNPC. So at what point, why is this market forces? I mean, we have so much supply. I mean, 10 oil marketers. Why are we seeing a rise and not a drop in this price?
Well, the rise in the price is obviously as a result of the amount of money that those products were bought with. Market forces determine how much you buy and how much you sell, the aggregated demand for your product and all of that. So when you aggregate, put all of it in the mix, you would eventually get to have the actual cost of a product. I still think that going forward, I think that the price would eventually converge at something even slightly higher than what we're talking about today. Now those products would have been bought as at the time when the naira was not adjusted to what it is today. Today the naira has been adjusted to about 700 and something naira, to a dollar. When those imports this set of cargo would have been bought, they would have bought them at the previous, exchange rate of about 400 or about 500 naira. So when the next set of cargo comes, definitely there will be that slight shift upwards, which will be around heading towards 800 naira and thereabout. That's what it is. That's our new reality. The only way we can circumvent that from happening is if our refineries work. Now, most people keep clamoring for the Dangote refinery. If you take out time and you look at the Dangote refinery, you find out that it's an investment that would not come to stream in the next at least 12 months. Minimum. It won't come to life because the pipes that ordinarily should be conveying the crude from the Niger Delta to Lagos, obviously, had not been completed, and it would take a minimum of about a year or thereabout for that project to be completed. So there is no end in sight to what we're going through now. So if you think because you have a Dangote that has refinery that has been, I think that commissioning was hastily carried out, and the realities on ground is what we're looking at, because even at the commissioning and today, a couple of months down the line, you still find out that the refinery is working. So that's what it is, and that's why we at the Investors Forum, a whole while, about 10 years back, about 10 years, 12, 11 years back, we called on the Dangote, the what they call the investor Dangote and the Dangote group, to situate that particular, especially the refinery in the Niger Delta. If that would have been done in the Niger Delta, that project, as we speak, would have been up and running, because they don't need to have that huge outlay or that huge industry to put in place to pipe those projects, the crude oil from the Niger Delta to Lagos. So we have a whole lot of issues, but I think the closest and the most realistic thing for us to look at should be around privatization of those refineries. And immediately that happens, that would rather come on stream even faster than the Dangote refinery that most of us are talking about. And if that happens, not that it's going to bring the cost of petrol to 500 naira, but the government can at the same time, because they're equally shareholders in it, can tie that around the initial, agreement of takeover by the investors, that they will give a certain amount of their products in country. They'll sell a certain amount in country at almost at the cost of production, which would now bring it down from the international rate to the local rate, which would be set. But a chunk of the 60% of the project would now be dependent on, would now be structured around exports of the petroleum refined products. Then it would work. But anything away from that, then we're not being realistic to ourselves. And it's going to take a long time for us to be able to come to reality that we're fixed.
Okay, so let's go back to the phone lines now. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes.
Madam Chioma, good afternoon to your guest. Congratulations, Madam Chioma, on the program.
Okay, thank you.
How has this been affecting me? Okay, so what happened is I actually bought fuel before the increment, and I still have some in my generator tank because I work remotely, and I still have some in my keg too. So now, moving forward, just like the filling stations will say, that the old stock, how will they replace it if they not increase the price? Nigerians are complaining, but you bought this product with the old price. Now the price has increased, so why are you? So I'm looking towards, of course, recuperate. How do they put it in the language? Getting back my money for my business, by trying to at least top up my price, and all that. Now, my question to your guest is, we understand the ecosystem of the demand of fuel, the PMS. In Nigeria, almost every household depends on fuel. In future, is there a way, does he think that the dependence of fuel can reduce the price of this PMS? Yes, the dependence of PMS, when it drops, for instance, you have houses now using green power and all that, inverter and all that. So if it increases, the use of inverters and all that increases, will it drop down the price of fuel? And also looking at the market, we know that big shots have invested in the Dangote refineries and all that. And that is why our refineries, rather government refineries, will not work. That is the main reason why it will not work, because the people who should make it work have put their money, or rather their interest, somewhere else. It's like investing in buying shares in a beverage company, let's say chocolate, and there's another competitive chocolate company somewhere. And you want to succeed if your money is in a chocolate company. So for me, our refinery, I'm not a prophet of doom, but it's obvious that in the next 100 years, it will not work until we have somebody who will come and say, or change the situation, because government can always come and say, this one has to stop. The people should be able to benefit, and not just we. A lot of these lawmakers have filling stations, a lot of them.
Okay.
In fact, some of them have, even in Port Harcourt here, when they closed one of them in the last administration, it was a lawmaker filling station that they closed, and we know what happened. So how can that person make decisions that will benefit the people when his business is what the people are looking for? So we have a long way to go. Thank you. Okay,
thank you for sharing your thoughts there. And Mr. Bob, I don't know if you heard this question. Did you hear it?
No, I didn't.
Okay, he was asking, would the drop in dependent on PMS drop cost of petrol? I mean, when we talk about renewable energy and people start looking for alternatives to petrol, do you think a drop in a lot of families depend on petrol. So if a drop in would there be a drop in price if there's a drop in dependent of PMS?
Sorry, you said come again, please.
Okay, so he says lots of families, almost all families, the average Nigerian family depends on petrol to run, whether it's their business or stay afloat as a family. And so with the rising costs, perhaps we have more and more people, looking the way of renewable energy, solar energy, and all of the other alternatives that may be more expensive. I don't know right now. But he's wondering, do you think if less people depend on this product that is so high right now, that it's also going to drop the price of the product?
No, I really don't think the price of the product is as a result of the demand for the product.
Okay.
The price of the product is as a result of the necessity rather than the demand. Because,
okay, Mr. Bob.
If you look at the international cost of for PMS, you find out it's way higher than what we're buying it in Nigeria today. So they seem to be. That's why I kept pointing out that look, it will keep notching up. It will keep going up based on several variables. We're looking at variables around the devaluation of the naira. As much as the naira keeps devaluing itself, obviously the cost of PMS would go up. The petrol will go up.
Okay, let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll wrap up, and that'll be it for Talking Figures. Stay tuned.
The show continues after this break. Night.
We've been talking the figures around the new petrol price, and so much has been said. My guest has been the president of Rivers Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, Mr. Bob Manuel Ibifiri. So much has been said, and so I'm asking, Mr. Bob, are you still there?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, the question, the final thoughts really from here. I would like to hear yours. What should business do? What should businesses do right now with all of these realities you've talked about today?
Well, we need to take energy transition very seriously. We need to vigorously chase the transition process. In our businesses, as a government, as a people, we must realize that, look, the fossil fuel, this petrol, the diesel, and all of that forms the fossil fuel is gone. You know, this is just about the beginning. Other sorts of energy like solar, electric vehicles, and all of that, they're a lot cheaper than we expect. Gone are the days where you find out that those green energies are expensive. Now they've been able to crack the economy of scale, so those products are becoming a lot cheaper than you can imagine. So we need to begin to ask, what are the other alternatives to fuel? For vehicles, for transportation, for electricity, for just name it. You look into those things, you find out that they're a lot cheaper eventually it's a one-off payments that you make, one-off investments. If you're going to buy an electric car, it's a one-off investment you're making. And if you make that one-off investment, you don't have to make any other investment on it, because you rather be taking returns out of it. And if you could run an electric car for the next 3 to 5 years, that electric car would have paid you back the amount of money you're buying that car with. And that goes to solar too, So we need to begin to look at these things. And I think the government needs to come up with clear policies that will encourage investment into those areas. Now, yes, we understand the passion and the bias government fossil fuel, because fossil fuel provides the chunk of its funds. But we must have to be dispassionate and look at those things. Countries that are not blessed with crude the way we are doing a lot better than what we're doing today. So I think we need to begin to think out of the box.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bob. And then we'll come back again next week, Wednesday. And
Nigeria Info, the talk station of the nation.
Us today. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. That was Mr. Bob Manuel Ibifiri, the River State President of the River State Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, and he's said a lot about what businesses can do, should do, would do. Maybe you would pick a lot from there to forge ahead as we embrace this new petrol price, which many experts, including Mr. Bob, have said could go up, could come down. Market forces, they say, is the determining factor here. So businesses, there you have it. Do with it what you wish. The information coming from Talking Figures today, I hope we've crunched the numbers quite well for you today. My name is Chioma Ezenwafor. Join us every Wednesday 2 p.m. We'll crunch numbers, we'll talk figures, and until then, stay tight, keep your numbers really close to your heart, and have a lovely day.